There's some great things I've seen you talk about with the Kama Sutra. One is how important kissing is in terms of, that foreplay, that building relationship. So, can you share some insight on what the Kama Sutra tells us about kissing?
So the Kamasutra has a very interesting chapter on kissing, where it mentions. So the Kamasutra is actually written like an academic treatise. It's a scientific treatise. So it's written almost like an accountancy ledger. So it's a taxonomical list of things to do. And the chapter on kissing has like 500 types of kissing. And when I say 500 types of kissing, don't get too excited, because it's like if you turn your head to the left, it's the left side kissing. If you turn to your head to the right, it's the right side kissing, and so on. So that's how they kind of work on that particular subject. But what's also interesting is that it comes up with several different types of kissing for several different purposes or occasions, including one. It says that if you want a really expensive gift, what kind of kiss must you give your partner? And
Hmm.
I always think that that's really funny. But the thing is that the Kam Sutra is very prescriptive in the way that it tells you what to do. In the beginning, because the Kam Sutra, like all the other ancient Sanskrit texts, is written in metaphor, which means that even if you could understand literary Sanskrit that was written 2000 years ago, even if you understood the meanings of the words, you wouldn't understand what they were trying to say, because each thing is metaphorical. Now, the idea with making it prescriptive was that you create a framework so that people have a limitation that they can work within, and then they can get really creative within that. Because if you say to somebody, go be, the sky is the limit, go make love to your heart's content, it is really difficult. Most people will kind of go thrash, 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 and you're done before you started, because you had the option of doing anything that you wanted. And it's really hard to, I mean, I don't know about you, but whenever I do a storytelling on stage, the way the energy is contained on that stage is huge for me, because then I work better in that. We need that framework to work within. The Kamasutra has these very strange prescriptions on how you kiss. I personally think, like I said, that it was to help people change what they were doing. So, if you say, oh, I am trying to do this kiss because my partner is leaving on a long journey day after tomorrow, and this is the kiss that's been prescribed for me. I think it was just to actually get you to try something new and different. So it was to add novelty. But I think the nicest thing it says is that if you are either this is your first time, or it's your first time after a long time, or you're trying to pretend that it's your first time, the idea is to make it as low on touch as possible. So you build up the anticipation. So the idea of just rubbing your lower lip along your partner's lower lip, giving little tiny pecks. Being able to do that, it says, without even holding them. All you're supposed to do is, if you're the man, you wrap your finger around a little bit of her hair and hold her in place just by doing that. Or she holds just the tip of your collar to keep herself in place. But, it was about the less you do, the more you build up the anticipation. And I always think one of my most memorable dates, and this is 42 years ago, because I got married about 40 years ago, and this was when I was still in my third year of university. This guy is sitting with me, and this is all he literally did was we sat there discussing Immanuel Kant and his philosophy of absolutism. And we spoke about 3 hours on it. And all he did was every now and then he'd lean forward and just rub his lower lip against mine. And that's it. And I could feel his breath on my face. And it was just the most exciting thing. It is still the most memorable date ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anticipation is so important, right? We as humans respond to building up, whether it's a building up of an orgasm or a building up of excitement to being intimate. And I think we've lost so much of that in modern society. We're so busy, we're overworked, we're always looking at our phones. Like it can be so simple, it can be so small, but it makes such a huge difference.
It really does.
What about, you've been sharing some content about wearing jewelry and how we used jewelry to help people get the right rhythm during sex or get the right sort of cadence of thrusting, for example. Can you share how you learned about that through the Kama Sutra?
The Kamasutra itself is as I said, it's a treatise, and it's written as a sort of scientific text. So it doesn't talk about emotions or excitement. It tells you stuff, but it doesn't tell you about the excitement that you're going to feel when you do such and such a thing. It's very sort of clinical in the way that it talks about stuff. But we have about 2,000 years of literature that was inspired by the Kama Sutra. So the Sanskrit plays and poetry, the Tamil plays and poetry written over centuries have got all of the vocabulary of the Kama Sutra, the teachings of the Kama Sutra. And as I was saying earlier, it's all written in metaphors. So whenever in these wonderful books, these wonderful stories, we talk about two people making love, we never talk about it as, oh yeah, and then she jumped on top of him and she humped her way to, you know, each position is mentioned through a piece of jewelry. I discovered this quite by chance. I was reading a book by Lee Siegel, and he talked about this, and that was it. I was absolutely hooked. And I went off to then decipher what they meant by different pieces of jewelry for different positions. And initially, it's just a beautiful idea that, okay, you wear different pieces of jewelry for different positions. Then you learn that actually it was how the jewelry moved on your body was how you were supposed to move in that position. And it was like peeling away the layers one little bit at a time. So it was a very exciting journey for me just to discover that. So basically, ancient India doesn't think that full nudity is erotic. Full nudity is beautiful and innocent. When you ornament it with jewelry, with lots of jewelry, or with voiles and muslins, or whatever, garlands of flowers, you then make it erotic. So the jewelry that you wore, I think that the term used now is biofeedback. This idea of the real time sort of body's response to how it's feeling when you do certain things. So jewelry was almost used as biofeedback, how it moved, etc. So when you put it on, it defines your body, right? Because suddenly you're dividing one part from the other. You're outlining one part. You're making the breath, the scent, the movement more visible because it's being revealed through the jewelry. And I just found that as I sort of unpicked it little by little, it was almost like the theater of preparation. It's like your sensory theater of preparation. When you put on that jewelry, you already have started to take yourself into a different space. And then, of course, the very basic idea, the actual logistical idea that each piece of jewelry helped you to move right. I mean, like I said, here is a society that doesn't just think that pleasure is a good idea, it thinks of it as beautiful, and it wants people to think of it exquisitely beautiful as well. So yeah, for me, the jewelry was just exquisite. And we recently got together with Shan Budram, who is based in LA, and a lady called Manasvi, who runs a brand called Surmay, also based in California. She gets her jewelry from India, but is based in California and sells over there. And the three of us got together and we actually created all these different pieces of jewelry to see if we could actually help people to just be happier and more satisfied with their pleasure lives.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. And I remember you had mentioned somewhere where you would wear these gunguru, right? These bells.
Bells.
And the point was in the way you move that you actually shouldn't hear the bells, that it should be a movement that allows you to move without ringing the bells. Is that right?
Yeah, so this was for the waistband. So this is if the woman was going to be on top. And I always said that, if you look at porn today, because that's the only way that we learn about sex and how to have sex these days is from watching porn. And so you see how the woman will sit on top and she bounces up and down because that's what you see happening. Well, that's what they need to do for the camera. And so that's how they visualize it. They film it. And you see the person bouncing up and down. And according to the Kama Sutra, you wore this jingling girdle, the ghungroos, on your waist. And the idea was that the ghungroos shouldn't make a sound. And so now you don't have to worry about how you're moving, what you're doing. You just are focusing on the ghungroos not making a sound. And that little motion back and forth and just slightly round and round with your hips, that was what you focused on. And that was what was geared towards your pleasure. And I just think such a simple way of doing it, right? You couldn't have asked for simpler. And then of course it goes with the long earrings. And the long earrings were supposed to sort of swing back and forth. And when you got that motion right, you knew that the pace was right. But also it told you how far forward to lean, because as soon as that falls there, now you know where you are. And so just with the jewelry that you're wearing, you've kind of got yourself organized for how you are supposed to do this. I cannot think of anything that I have ever heard that is more beautiful than that.
It's beautiful. And it's like a coach, right? It's like having a coach in your bedroom, like showing
Exactly.
you what to do.
What to
Yeah.
do. So the other one that I think is really gorgeous is the jingling anklets. Now in this one, this is a slight variation on the missionary position where the woman would be underneath and her feet would be over here, just on the inside of the shoulders. Here, what she's supposed to do is you bring your foot down, you put it back up, you bring your other foot down, and the ghungroos jangle, the bells jangle each time. So you know you're keeping pace with the thrusting. But for me, it isn't even that you would need to do this constantly. You could do this every now and then, but for me, what it really does is, for a lot of women, the sheer discomfort of lying underneath, where your back freezes up, you're lying in an awkward position. This is giving you the chance to adjust your hip regularly. You're moving, you're comfortable. You're also helping that penetration to be deeper, better, easier, because that motion is what is needed for your partner to go further in. How easy was that?
Yeah. So easy. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, I think we just need to bring back jewelry. Everybody, when they decide to have sex, along with condoms, there should be a starter pack of jewelry for everyone.
I love that idea. I really do. I mean, it's so simple. It's so simple. There's also some mention of using scent, right? Using perfumes, but probably not modern day perfumes, but obviously using scent to enhance pleasure. Can you share a little bit about that?
Again, like I said, all written in metaphor, so it took years to understand exactly what they were trying to say. Now, the idea was that you perfumed your body with different fragrance for every single part of the body, because each part of the body functions differently, and so different perfumes smell different on different parts of you. But also, I mean, of course, there's the excitement of massaging the perfume into you. That in itself is very sensory. But really, the idea was that it was supposed to keep you in the present. So let's say that your partner is an amazing person, and this can go either way because men were also taught how to perfume their bodies. Let's say your partner is amazing and takes the trouble to kiss you from top to bottom every single day and is wonderful with this. But at some point, you follow the same route and then you get used to it. And then you start to zone out. So by the time you've gone from here to here to here to here, you're now thinking about that email that you forgot to send or that contract that didn't get signed. You have zoned out. And the idea of the perfume was that as you went to each place, it was a new perfume that suddenly sort of came to you, it brought you back into the present. It was like your little reminder that, okay, you wandered off, now you're back. And I just think, again, how easy, how amazing, how brilliant. and how beautiful.
Yes. I mean, we need more mindfulness during sex, right? And if it's as simple as a scent, I mean, you hear about people using scents to help them feel like a certain character. Like I've heard actors and actresses say they wear a specific scent when they're playing a specific character. It helps them get in the zone. I will light a candle when I'm trying to write my book. And, there's certain things that you do just so you can help yourself zone in. And I think that's, again, so simple and so useful.
So simple, so useful, and just so it's so in tune with sensuality. It's not just, oh, I am using this as a technique. This is like literally taking you into your own senses.
If you enjoyed that clip with Dr. Seema Anand on the Rena Malik MD podcast, make sure you check out the full video right here.